can remember, my family has planted a garden and a couple wheat fields every year, and then harvested the garden and the wheat fields to provide my family and our animals with food throughout the year. This revelation is nothing new because I've been participating in this form of lifestyle since I was a small child. But what is an interesting realization is that the form of living actually is under a certain standard called the Back to the Land movement. I did not realize this until I began researching a certain couple, Scott and Helen, who were one of the key individuals to spur the movement into existence in the U.S. in the late 1960s. The simple living lifestyle, which they helped to define by living it themselves and writing books about it to expose and explain it to other people, was founded on the 4-4-4-hour principle. This theory that they tried to schedule their life around consisted of dividing their day into 3 blocks of time, which were each devoted to a certain part of life that they felt was imperative to living a healthy, happy, and successful life. The 3 parts of their day were bread labor, civic work, and professional pursuits or recreation. The first part of the day, and the part of their life that actually defined their lifestyle as back to the land, was the bread labor time. During this period of their day, they completed work that was directed toward meeting their requirements of food, shelter, clothing, and other such everyday jobs needed to survive. It was in the methods that they chose to complete these tasks that helped define the Back to the Land movement. By using subsistence crop raising, their main goal was to grow their own food and decrease their wants. By doing this, they provided nearly 80% of the food they required for themselves from their organic farming. This simple method of living presented an appeal to many people, and so to promote their lifestyle and help others to find the happiness and peace they had found, the Nearings offered an open house situation to visitors on their land for several decades. Because it was just Helen and Scott, without the traditional size of a farm family, they had to be hardworking and self-reliant, as well as be able to cooperate with their neighbors, therefore giving rise to the second portion of their daily routine, which was allotted to their civic work. This time was devoted to doing something worthwhile for their community and fellow citizens. The Nearings performed this time of their day in various ways, but one of the routine events was in helping their neighbors on their farms, and likewise receiving help back. One prime example was during the early years in Vermont. Each season they worked side by side with their neighbors, the Herd family, to tap their maple trees and harvest the syrup, which provided one of the few monetary incomes the Nearings received from their farming. Another way they contributed to their community was by lecturing and writing about their lives and trying to explain how the way they lived promoted itself to following the values that depicted a good life, such as freedom from anxiety, simplicity, and an opportunity to be useful. To back up their speeches about wanting others to come join the good life and to be self-sustaining and happy, as they were, they proved that with their actions. They often sold at a cost, traded, or simply gave away pieces of their land to similarly minded people. And finally, the last part of the day was for professional pursuits or recreation. During this time, they pursued whatever pastimes they were interested in. For Helen, this usually involved music, and for Scott, it was quite often economic research. Scott Nearing was indeed a radical thinker. He and Helen openly decided to wage war on the market economy, choosing instead to follow a use economy. Scott proclaimed that by growing his own food, which he ate, cutting fuel which he burned, and using things which he made, he was performing tasks that he was created to do. Because the market economy produces and pressures individuals to buy things they need, even though they are perfectly capable of producing the items themselves. Scott was well known for his candidness regarding any topics he saw as unjust or hypocritical. His radical beliefs and his bluntness in expressing them resulted in several less than ideal outcomes, including him being tried by the U.S. grand jury after he wrote a pamphlet stating his views about World War I, and its causes being commercial and largely for the benefit of the wealthy. Now, obviously, everybody cannot live in little cottages on their own little farms in the country, but that was not the point of Helen and Scott Nearing's books and suggestions. They wanted for themselves and for others to slow down and take a look at some of the few attitudes and qualities that help them live a good life. These values to live by, when boiled down to their basics, was the reason for their 3-part day: to spend time in your bread labor, acquiring and working for things you had to have to live. Secondly, to perform your civic work, helping and cooperating with your community. And finally, spending time pursuing your recreation or whatever you are passionate about. If the basis of these three parts were adopted and applied in everybody's lives, people would be much more satisfied and content with the lives they chose and the way in which they lived them. Thank you.